Welcome to Bookworms. This is a bonus episode. I'm Joe, and today I have a guest host, Becky.
It's me.
Welcome back, Becky.
What's up?
I hear you have some books you want to talk about.
Yeah, mainly just one.
Just one? I thought you had like 4.
Well, yeah, I could have, but then I decided to be more nerd anyway, and just talk about one.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
What am I doing again?
Ha ha ha.
Okay, so I want to talk about, it's a young adult, it's not even a young adult book. It's a middle grade book. So that means it's for roughly ages grades 5 through 8.
So your favorite age range?
Not for reading, generally. I like the upper school and the adult stuff, making me sound to be like something I'm not. And so I actually, I found this book back when, Barnes & Noble was doing a pre-order for this year, but I didn't pre-order it until, a week before it came out because I hemmed and hawed and was like, do I really want it? But there's a puppy on the cover.
Yes, there is. What kind of dog is that?
Well, I forget. Its name is Seymour, though, in the book. So the book is called The Trouble with Heroes, and it's by Kate Messner. She's done quite a few, middle grade books, and she lives on Lake Champlain, and is a proud, what's the verb gonna be here? Adirondacker? How many mountains are in the Adirondacks?
A fair few, I'd say.
Okay, well, she's one of them people who's done all the big ones.
She's doing all the 4,000 footers in the Adirondacks.
Is that what it is? I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's 4,000 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the only ones that really compete with New Hampshire for numbers.
Okay. Well, whatever. I don't
Maybe
know.
we could have an interview with her. You should reach out. Me and her can geek about hiking, and you and her can geek about books.
Yeah, well, I totally feel this kid that the book's about. Her dedication is to her hiking buddy, and it has the person's name, Marcia Trombley, and then her number. Are you going to get a number for when you're done with this midlife crisis? I mean, this hiking, this thing that you do?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to get a number.
666.
I think they're already past that.
They'll make an exception for you, though, right?
I'm sure the person that ended up getting it either loved it or hated it.
Probably. Okay, so right off the bat, so you can see the cover, and I've already talked about the puppy. I've told you the title. So what do you think this is going to be about?
Hiking with a dog.
The Trouble with Heroes is about hiking with a dog. Okay.
Looking at the cover, the kid is wearing a hiking backpack. He's looking up at a mountain. The background has mountains and wilderness, and he has a dog with him.
The kid's looking up just like, fuck.
He could be looking at the peak of the mountain he's about to go up and be like, yeah, I've done that before. Kerrigan has a false summit, and you have to go another 3/4 of a mile along a ridge before you start going up again. That, I was like, fuck. And what makes it worse, so the only reason I know is how far it was because I pulled out my phone, because it looks further because the trees at the top are so short. It looks like it's way off in the distance. I'm like, if I had to go another 10 miles, I'm done.
Up the sketchy road that you can't get up anymore because it washed out. Anyway, so I really enjoyed the first line of this book because well, first and foremost.
So usually, let me break it down. Usually we hate the first line on this podcast, except for a handful, but usually Alex or I are pointing out the openings of the books for how bad they are, even if they get better later on. So this is a good change of pace.
So, well, I have this issue with grades that have graduations or diplomas that are not high school, college, graduate level, etc. And so
here's a question for you. You hate 8th grade graduation. What's the difference between 8th grade and 12th grade graduations? I mean, it's still, especially the kids that are going to college, they're just going to be in another 4 years anyways.
I know. I guess maybe because in 8th grade, you technically can't fail. Whereas in 12th grade, you might not necessarily graduate on time.
Back in the day, a lot of kids struggled to get to 8th grade.
Oh, I know. So
this might just be a throw over from our parents' age when the average age for most.
I did not have an 8th grade graduation.
I don't remember.
I moved out to this crazy part of the world, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have a kindergarten graduation and a 6th grade graduation and an 8th grade graduation. And I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. Stop 8th grade. How'd you do it?
Anyways, moving on.
So it goes.
I think you're just jealous. You wish you had an 8th grade graduation.
I wanted to skip my graduations. I was so happy when graduate level came and I did not have to walk.
I didn't have to do my graduation for Alaska, so I've been flying everybody back out in the end of the spring semester. And I said,
cheating.
We can skip that.
Anyway, so it goes, if I were a better kid, this story would begin with my 7th grade diploma. Instead, it starts with this: Adirondack Daily News, local cemetery vandalized. And then it has a newspaper article about our main character destroying a headstone for someone named Edna Grace Thomas. He wasn't even trying to destroy her headstone. He was trying to destroy his dad's.
So he's just an epic failure at failing.
Yes. Yes. And then it goes into school is important. It's bad to damage headstones. This is a haiku. So, of course, like English teacher, it had me at hello. So our main character is named Finn. He's 12 or 13 years old. And he's from, I'm going to guess, more upstate New York than like the Finger Lakes region or anything like that. He's not from the city. He did live in the city, though. But they moved. So some backstory that you get in the book is that they lived in New York City. His dad was a 9/11 firefighter, and then COVID hit and the family decided to go stay with, I forget which parent's mom. If it was his mom's mom or his dad's mom. Either way, dad stayed back in the city to take care of COVID people and died. So this kid's off to a rough start. So the book takes place then like 3 or 4 years later. And he's just angry and mad at the world and then is going to like give his dad a piece of his mind and terrorizes a different headstone. Whoopsies. But Edna Grace's daughter is like, I am not going to punish you or send you to jail. Instead, you're going to continue my mother's legacy. And her legacy was hiking all those mountains with her dog, Seymour, who is old AF.
So I gather she hasn't finished the mountains.
She did not. She died before she could finish the mountains. So he had to climb. He didn't have to do all of them, I don't think. But he had to do them in one summer.
So there are 46,000 4,000 footers in the Adirondack Mountains.
46,000?
46 4,000 foot peaks.
There we go.
Talking too fast.
So he has to do some...
So New Hampshire still wins by 2. Plus we have the bigger ones.
Oh my god. So he has to do a good chunk of those with the dog, Seymour. And so it's a story about grief and how grief grows and changes, and then also that with the grief, those questions of what did those people actually think of us? Because Finn is not what we would call athletic. He starts climbing these mountains and he's very much like me. Like, this is BS. I hate my life. Why am I here?
So rage hiking.
Yes. What was it that John Green said? He goes and takes walks for his fucking mental health or whatever. That's a quote from him, Mom. That is not me saying it. That was him. That was John Green saying something like that. I'm just paraphrasing. So he's doing this, and he comes home after some of these hikes, and he gets so like, about some of them. He makes cookies, which I guess his dad was not a fan of. Not like putting him down or calling him horrible names, but just like, oh, that's what you're doing? Okay. So that's an added element. And then I was like, oh, what if Joe made cookies after every one of his hikes? And then I could be like, yeah, I totally went on a Mount Kerrigan hike or whatever. I've totally hiked Mount Washington through my tummy.
Is that a challenge that if I make cookies for you, you'll hike those mountains?
No, I will not be hiking those mountains. He's just staring at me creepily. So he's also basing these hikes on some man, George Cheney, who hiked the Adirondacks, and he has this little choose your own adventure section, only instead of choose your own adventure, it's called choose your own disaster, which I thoroughly enjoy. So he's talking about this George Cheney guy and how you're out hunting and the deer you're tailing swims away, so you chase it into your canoe, but your pistol slips off the seat and goes off and you end up with a bullet in your leg? Do you A, paddle back to shore and get some help, or keep going after the deer?
You go after the deer, obviously.
Obviously, because that's what George Cheney did. Then
Smart man.
he gets the deer, he dresses it, and then finally checks out his leg, and it's not looking too great. Do you find some branches, carve them into crutches, and walk the 14 miles back home, or realize it's a terrible idea given your injury, bandage it up, and stay put, waiting for help to arrive?
Carve some crutches and walk 14 miles back.
Obviously.
Like a man.
Are you George Cheney? Like, this could be your story.
I mean, this is just common sense here. I mean, come on.
And this whole thing actually sounds like a bad Hollywood plot, this choose your own advent disaster or whatever, because at one point there's a bear that comes along in this story, and do you run from it or whip out your hunting knife to defend yourself?
Whip out your hunting knife, because one, he probably can't run. Two, it's worse to run than stand your ground.
I'm just going to curl up in a little ball and hope it takes me home. Be like, oh, look, it's one of my babies. It's a little not as hairy, but it's the baby. So that's kind of fun. So he goes on that. His mom is obviously upset with his choice of knocking down a headstone, but she's also like, what am I going to do? Like, this kid is angry, because it comes to light that Finn's dad, because of 9/11, had severe PTSD and wasn't always the best man. And he is known for being a hero based on this one photograph where he is holding a woman, and I forget exactly what is being shown, but it's like her foot or something and like a red shoe. So that's just sort of encompasses his dad. People are always like, oh my gosh, your dad was that guy in that photo. And I think a lot of us who lived through 9/11 can probably remember photographs and being like, oh my gosh, that person, I remember that photo wherever we see it now. And so it's really hard for Finn to be like, yeah, my dad was a hero and he was also kind of a jerk.
I guess that is something that, especially in today's society, the last, we'll call it 10 years, we've kind of questioned the whole hero arcs and realizing that people are more complicated than a headline or a photo, and how do we deal with that?
Right? Like, let's go back to our old school heroes like Odysseus. He was a jerk and a half. All right. He obviously did not love Penelope that much because it took him 10 years. I don't care about Poseidon and his drama, between the two of them. It took him 10 years. 7 of those was like on one island with, was it Circe or Calypso? And his men were guinea pigs. Homeboy don't care.
You gotta play the long game on these escape plans if you're going to have everyone survive. Or most everyone survive.
His son was going to die. He just was like, meh.
He knew his son could handle himself in a pinch.
Anyway, so his mom is
Odysseus' son obviously passed that choose your own disaster test and did all the correct things, like going after the deer, walking out, challenging the bear. So he knew what his kid was capable of.
He left his home so he didn't get murdered. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so his mom is working with his grandmother in whatever random spot, and she often will take him to the trailheads and drop him off and whatnot, and she's constantly texting him. And I was like, oh, this is like what I almost started doing when you started your... Is it a midlife crisis? Is that what these mountains are?
This is a...
That's what I tell people. It's your midlife crisis. It's cheaper than a Ferrari or a new set of boobs.
Is it though? I mean, all those hotel stays that we do every year starting to add up.
It is indeed. But she's constantly like, hey, remember you need to check in. And so I have to figure out how to do this because this sounds amazing. He's made an auto reply. So if anybody texts him while he's doing whatever, his response is, I am not lost in the woods or being stalked by a panther or getting swatted by a bear.
I think that would be a good one to send you.
But there's a few of these text conversations where his mom is just like, Finn, where are you? Finn, are you okay? How's it going? What's it like? And there's just his response. And then every once in a while, he'll finally send a picture from the summit or something. I don't even get that. I don't get the pictures right away. I get the made it to the top.
Well, yeah, because the pictures, I have no cell signal at the top, and I take a picture, I send it to you, And then it usually takes till we get back to the hotel before it finally actually sends.
Excuses.
And then I send you the rest of the photos at the hotel.
Anyway, so he doesn't have to do these trips by himself. One of the caveats that Edna Grace Thomas's daughter put forth was that he had to hike them with Seymour the dog. But Seymour can't go on all of them. He's old. There's a lot of ladders, which I'm going to guess are very difficult for dogs in general, unless you're going to like hold them over your shoulders.
Actually, the dogs I've seen handle them quite well. I think it's the going down part they have a little bit more trouble, but going up, they just, it's like going upstairs.
All right. Well, maybe these are different out there in the Adirondacks.
So I have a buddy that has hiked a bunch of the Adirondacks. And those trails, so remember the Kingsman, North Kingsman?
Vaguely. They all run together.
It was the one that you tried to hike up to the lake, but didn't quite make it to that lake. He made it to another turnoff. And it was a sketchy-ass trail.
Oh, Cascade? I think it was the Cascade Trail. It was just all up.
Yeah, but you remember how the rocks, it was like walking on a brook, and the brook was full?
Yeah, and it was stairs. It
Yeah.
was like a highway to hell.
Yeah. Basically, all the Adirondack trails look like that.
No, thank you.
So there's always a joke, because all those West Coast people brag about how tall their mountains are, but when you see the photos of their trails, these nice groomed, even paths that have markers basically going all the way up, where New England trails tend to be a choose your own adventure and hope you don't miss the one blaze trail, the one blaze tree that's still standing in the the 1 mile stretch you're walking on. Or like, why this isn't the White Mountains, but there's one trail I like to hike back in New Hampshire when I was growing up. The trail just kind of stopped being marked, and you just followed a stone wall for about 3/4 of a mile until it went back to being marked again.
Oh my god! See, no, I want to be placed on the top of the Pacific Crest Trail where it's already crushed gravel. I don't actually want to do the work to get up there, and I just want to follow the ridge, and then somebody can pick me up again by helicopter, because I don't want to hike. I just want to walk. I will walk across like sketchy bridges or whatever on the sides of these things. Just don't make me actually work. Anyway, so he's not doing these alone. He has Seymour on some of them, and then he often will have another adult. I don't remember most of their names, but one he calls Cow Nanny. And then one he calls Nerd Nanny. So Cow Nanny is an older woman. Nerd Nanny is a high school guidance counselor or a middle school guidance counselor. And then there's Coach. And Coach has some deep ties to Finn and his dad, because he coached Finn's dad. And so he has insight into who his dad was before 9/11 and what changed him and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. Some of these cookies do sound pretty good. So I guess there's maybe it's 2 mountains. I'm not quite sure. But it's called Cascade and Porter cookies. I don't know if they're single or if that's just the name of the mountain. But it's sugar, brown sugar, eggs, melted or softened butter, vanilla extract, baking soda, salt, flour, chocolate chips, toffee pieces, and then chocolate covered orange peels. And the orange peels are like a garnish you put on the cookie. It sounds delicious. I kind of want to make them.
Okay. Does it give you the whole recipe?
It does.
Ooh.
It does.
Wow.
It's amazing. And some of them are there's one where he's street and nye cookies featuring pretzel sticks as fallen trees and gooey chocolate mud. Which reminds me of a hike. Not a hike. A walk I did. You were doing Wildcat, and I was doing the trail that led up to the Pinkham Notch, Mount Washington thing. Yep. And I got my boot stuck. I fell into some water, and my boot got stuck, and my hands got stuck, and I was holding my phone because I didn't know where I was. Because I was trying to figure out where I was supposed to go, because I had lost the blazes. I was still on the trail, but I didn't know which trail.
That will happen.
Where am I? I can hear the cars. And I was also upset anyway, because that was the one where you just tiptoed through the rocks to cross the stupid creek. And I was like, what? That's not fair. So I had taken off my boots and slung them around my neck, as I often do.
I've had to do that too since then.
Good for you. Let's see. So this is also a book in verse, which is kind of nice since it's dealing with such heavy topics, but it also has some very poignant turns of phrase. So we have all heard that phrase, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound. And so we have this. If a hero rescues someone and there's no one there to cheer, no photographer to capture the dust, white as stone, the shoe, red as blood, is the hero a hero at all?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Probably. But that's just something that is in there.
I bet you if you ask the rescuer, they're going to say no.
Probably.
Because as most of these people that are labeled heroes usually say, I'm not the hero, it's somebody else.
Probably. So eventually Finn he's going along. He figures out that his family's, I forget if it's just like a chocolate shop or a country store or whatever, but they're in financial straits. And so one of the things he decides to do to help them out is put these cookies that he's making out for sale, which is pretty cool. I would do that. I'm not going to hike them, but yeah, I will totally taste a cookie that has toffee and orange chocolate peels. Peeled orange, whatever. Orange peels with chocolate? Is that what I said?
Chocolate cookies with garnishing orange peels.
Yes. I love orange and chocolate together with a big old glass of water. Oh, it's lovely. I can see you want to say something snarky. Don't even. So he goes and he's on his last one, I believe. And Seymour is supposed to always stay on leash. And we know how well that usually goes in the mountains. People don't listen if they're supposed to be on leash. But he was up at the top. And so he was like just taking a break. Seymour's been good. He's old AF. He's not going to do anything. Oh no. Seymour leaves. And Seymour makes a friend. What kind of friend do you think Seymour finds?
A skunk?
No.
Porcupine?
No.
A bear?
A bear. And so Finn, he's by himself because the nerd nanny was running late because of a car accident. So he just went up by himself. So the dog is run. He is now facing down a bear who the dog has not made nice friends with. And the bear is like, screw you too. So Finn gets in a little bit of hurt and ends up in the hospital. And because of that away message, like nobody knows really what's happened. Not being stalked by a panther or swatted by a bear. When in reality, he was swatted by a bear in a big, big way. So yeah. And I don't know. It was very interesting. We learn more about Finn's dad's last days in New York City during COVID. He was found unresponsive in an ambulance, and he had a history of, I forget if it was drugs or alcohol. And so Finn was like, not only did my dad abandon me to save other people, but he was also drinking or doing drugs or whatever. And so Finn finds the toxicology report from the autopsy, and that kind of sort of fixes some of the thoughts he has about his dad. And I don't know, like it was a lot. So, oops, sorry. I messed with my microphone. He's going to yell at me now. I had lots of thoughts.
Important question.
Yeah.
Did you cry at the end?
I didn't cry at the end. I cried during one of the things when he was talking about his dad.
Was it an ugly cry?
No, it wasn't an ugly cry.
Just a silent tear streaming down your face.
There were tears, and I was like, oh my God, I'm crying at a book. Which my students are usually like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. It's just a book. I'll be okay, guys.
You were reading this at school, were you?
I was not. No, I read it on vacation. I read all the worst books on a freaking beach. And I cry. And people walk by and they're like, oh my God, is she okay? And I'm fine. It's so wonderful to be on the beach. Because it is. It really, really is. So he starts off really just life sucks. And at the end, life is not like peaches and cream, but it's better. So I have a question for you. How might physical movement, such as hiking, mirror emotional movement and or progress?
Do you want the scientific answer?
Dude, it's a middle. Do I have to swear more? Because I will. It's a middle grade book. We should be able to show. I should be able to show this to my children at school, and I can't because we've already sworn so much.
What was the question again?
How might physical movement, like hiking, mirror emotional movement and/or progress?
I guess the answer you're looking for is the.
I'm not looking for an answer. I am not. Oh my God. I am going to chuck a pencil at you or something.
Why don't you give me what your thought is on it then?
Well, as Hank Green said, he takes these walks for his fucking mental health.
Exactly.
I think it can reflect positives and negatives, right? So, if you are out of shape, hi, it's me. When you start moving or you're doing new activities, you feel good, which is why I struggle with a lot of those canned exercise classes, because it's the same thing over and over, and I want something like new every time. Like, let's build on a skill and, challenge my brain, because we're not just challenging my body, we're challenging my brain.
So you're saying our week-long hike this summer, you want to do more and more challenging hikes?
I do, but I also enjoy sitting my ass on a beach reading my books. Stop it. This is my time. Shush. Shush.
Crying.
Shush. I don't ugly cry in public, just at home when you're asleep. But I also think physical movement can mirror emotional movement, because like as we get older, we aren't able to necessarily move as well, and that does take an emotional toll, and we witness that with people we love, like parents, grandparents, and whatnot. So I don't know if it's necessarily a mirror.
Well, I guess, looking at it, you're about to go on the hike, you're getting a dopamine hit for the anticipation of the hike and what you're going to do, the view you might see. You got the endorphins as you're moving, and what's the other one that is always really big?
Oxytocin?
Maybe. When you get to the top and you do see the view and it's everything you'd imagined it would be. And then on top of it, I guess there's...
serotonin? I don't know. Anyway.
There's when you're moving, when you're exercising, if you're doing something like on an elliptical or a treadmill, even though you're moving your body, you're still stationary. There's something with your vision when you go for a walk or a run that stimulates your brain also. Just visually, the scenery changing, and it sets all those endorphins off also. And then just because you've done the exercises, now you're also feeling, for the next couple of days or weeks, you feel healthier, even if you are sore, or, the next day or that night.
I enjoy how you're describing, like, getting out of the car and there's dopamine and there's anticipation, whereas I get out of the car and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. This sucks. And the entire way up, I'm like, this is why I hike alone, because I am having a tantrum right now. This is why I can't be near people. I don't care if it's good for my mental health. No wonder people aren't depressed when they go hiking, because they're so angry at the stupid trail. They can't be angry or sad about anything else.
Or I'm just so excited to be alone for possibly miles in any direction.
Wow. He doesn't like me, guys.
Wow. I'm surprised you took it that way.
Middle school teacher. How was I not supposed to take it that way? Anyway, so reading this actually made me think of quite a few other books and stories that I've read.
You have read a lot.
I have. And one of my favorite books is...
Peak?
Yeah!
I looked at your notes earlier.
Of course you did. Of course you did. And so I think there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Obviously, Peak is about one person climbing more or less for fame and trying... Maybe he's not trying to be a hero, obviously, but he's trying to gain the fame that being a hero can accumulate, right? Whereas Finn is doing something to make amends. And I think that's sort of where they intersect, is the making amends part, because Peak learns that Sunjo's dad saved Peak's father, and then Sunjo's dad died. Peak makes a decision at the top of Mount Everest to pay it back in kind. Oh, look at that. It was the dishwasher. It agreed with me.
Well, it also questions what makes a hero.
Yeah.
It does, like, your question is, if no one's there to see it, are they really a hero or not? And, as we said, a lot of heroes of the past are now being questioned because people have realized that they're human beings, and most human beings have some sort of skeletons in their closet that are not supposed to get out to the world. But when you're famous or a hero, they tend to get leaked out anyways eventually, and so yeah.
So both the stories deal with resilience. So first, how would you define resilience in your own personal lexicon?
Resilience. Is that kind of like grit?
I'm not defining it for you. I'm going to make you define it. You can Angela Duckworth yourself out of this if need be.
I will go with grit.
What is grit?
Where you don't give up and keep pushing forward.
Okay. So pushing forward, does that always mean pushing harder?
Sometimes.
Explain.
Well, sometimes you need finesse. Sometimes you need to fall back to go forward. Sometimes you need to go on a flanking motion.
So it could mean to slow down.
Could be, yeah. Like in a Mario game, Super Mario, you can't just run through it. Sometimes you have to wait for the thing to, the thing that's going to kill you to go by before you can go again.
Except for the blue shell. That's just going to get you if you're in first place, no matter what.
Mario Kart, yes. I'm not talking about like Super Mario.
I haven't played that game in a long time.
I know.
Do you think the accomplishments that people don't see matter as much as the ones they do see? Because Peak technically that we know of, did not reach the top of Mount Everest. But it's still an accomplishment to be however old was he, 14? Right?
Sure.
And for Finn, it's not like anybody except for these, he calls them babysitters, cow nanny, nerd nanny, and coach. And Seymour, the dog. Like, there's nobody there at the bottom cheering him on or being like, oh, yes, you are making amends for knocking over a tombstone. Way to go.
I don't know. I guess, for him, it's, a personal thing. So he doesn't need the cheerleaders. Kind of like me is, I enjoy you being there at the bottom waiting for me to say, yay, you survived.
Or annoyed when I'm not there. Right when you're ready to be done.
It was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of me waiting there.
I was on an interview. It's not my fault. Bring a book next time.
Anyways.
The end where he gets real friendly with the bear reminded me of the book Touching Spirit Bear, which has its own problems. Do you remember me talking to you about that book, though?
Vaguely.
So, Touching Spirit Bear by, I forget the person's first name, but their last name is like Michelson. Is about this kid named Cole from the Twin Cities who is a douchebag and a half. And as a restorative justice measure, he's sent off to some Aleutian island where there's Kodiak bears. And he finds one and he's like, I'm going to make friends with it. I am man, hear me roar. Cole doesn't roar very loud. It's like listening to Simba at the very beginning of The Lion King. And he gets mauled by it. But he gets hurt. And so then his second time to that island, he's physically limited. And then they send the kid that he beat the crap out of with him. And the kid he beat the crap out of has some serious physical issues. Anyway, so that's that. The wilderness is sort of its own character in The Trouble with Heroes and Touching Spirit Bear. So, question I have for you is, since you spent so much time in the wilderness on your own, how does the wilderness personify either a villain or like a sidekick? And how does that transform your experience of the trails? Oh, he's thinking, guys.
I guess I don't understand the question.
So the wilderness, nature.
Yeah, I got that.
How can it act like a villain towards you? Or how can it act like a sidekick towards you? And how does that sort of shape your experience?
I guess I don't view it that way. I never really thought about it that way.
Tell me more.
I mean, it's kind of like being, I know it's kind of gooey here, but being one with nature, being, just being out there and enjoying being out there. It's enjoying seeing the trees and the wildlife, and I'm not really, it's neither a villain nor a sidekick to me. It's just, it is, Does that make sense?
Do you think that's because you you're doing this for yourself. You have not been given this task to stay out of jail or to try and make amends for anything.
No. I mean, I grew up in the woods, so that probably makes a big difference. Like you said, he came from the city. Yeah, he's lived in the country a bit, but it sounds like he's never really been in the woods, right? Or from a young age, my parents were taking me on hikes and camping trips, and that's just kind of the I embraced that, and have continued being in forests and mountains and whatnot. So I mean, you look at even like my job, I'm literally in the middle of nowhere working at a trout hatchery, and you walk upstream and you get a heron flying over you, and you think you're in Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah, because those things are creepy.
Because you're just in a tight, little valley, and and trees are looming 200 feet over your head, and yeah, so I said it's just kind of growing up in it. I just like my glib answer would be I'm one with the forest because I'm from my Irish heritage and Druidism, but
oh my God, he's not the last Druid, y'all. He thinks, but he is not.
There's a whole army of us hidden out there.
He's not a Druid, friends. If he comes to you wearing a robe and a staff, just walk the other way. Don't listen to the nonsense that comes out of his mouth.
But I said I don't personify it as a villain or a sidekick or a hero. It's just part of my landscape, part of my life.
And do you think that's different because we lived in the late 1900s and now we're in the 21st century, as compared to whatever movie Leonardo DiCaprio finally got his his Oscar for, where he took down a bear, the Revenant, the
Revenant.
Yeah, because in that movie, nature, the wilderness, is made out to be the villain.
Yeah, and I mean, back during that time, I think there were people that viewed it that way because bear attacks, wolf attacks were a real possibility. We hadn't tamed nature to the extent that we have now, especially in the New World, aka North America. Most of Western Europe had been pretty well tamed. I mean, you walk into what they call a wilderness in England, and all the trees are in straight lines because they've all been planted by people maybe 1,000 years ago, but it's a man-made forest. So yeah, back in those days, it was more of a confrontational landscape. I mean, you look at medieval Europe, you walk into the woods, you might never be seen again. Say like the Black Forest in Germany. It was just dense, and it was easy to get lost. Where I grew up, they had clear cut the property right behind us, and I was probably 4 or 5 years old when they did it. 15 years later, you walk in there, and there's an old road going along the edge between the two properties. You walk 15 feet into that bramble, you can't see the road anymore, and you can walk in circles and never find your way out of there. I mean, I
remember I was there.
Yeah, I had a friend who was hunting back there. It got dark. The only reason why he figured out how to get out was he heard our dogs barking. But he said he was been walking back there for like an hour, not knowing where he was.
Speaking of Black Forest in Germany, is that why the Black Forest cake is chocolate and raspberry or whatever, to symbolize the blood that you would lose it wandering around? Anyway. But also, so maybe nature is pretty and I like the walks that I have taken, but it's also a villain. Like that Cascade Trail up by Lonesome Lake is a douchebag.
I was a douchebag.
You almost died on it too, so don't even.
Yeah, I almost died on it.
You were also like, oh, that trail was awful.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't what I was expecting for a trail, so I wasn't mentally prepared to deal with that.
Oh, that's all it takes is mental preparedness.
Yeah, you should try it sometime.
You can sleep on the couch. I'm going to fill water balloons first, and then you have to sleep on the water balloons. Good luck.
Anyways, let's get back to the podcast.
He's so mean to me. He's so mean. I don't know, when we think of wilderness, I guess maybe it too depends on what kind of wilderness. So earlier when I was like, I want to be plopped on the already scrunched up gravel and walk along the ridge. That's wilderness, but that's not necessarily trying. It's challenging, but maybe not necessarily in a
It's not like my manager who went on a hunting expedition in Alaska where they literally took a helicopter out into whatever wilderness and were there for a week and a half, and there wasn't another group of people around them for 100 miles.
That sounds like the Donner Party or the Dyatlov Pass or whatever it was in Russia.
Well, he was getting a little nervous because the plane was 2 days late.
Oh my God.
And there was no way to get a hold of anybody to say, where's the plane?
No, thank you. Hard pass. Hard pass. No, thank you.
They were getting a little nervous. They were wondering if they had made a big mistake.
Well, and maybe too. So Finn on his very first hike is not prepared at all. He wears shoes that are inappropriate. He doesn't have a headlamp. He doesn't bring enough water, enough food, etc. And so maybe too, that's something else that's different, because even though I did grow up in a city, I did spend enough time in the outdoors to know now that on my walks, I need to have enough water. I need to have some sort of light, the right kind of clothing, etc. So that I am not in a freaking puddle with my phone out. Like, where am I? That happened once. It was not fun. Stupid trails. Anyway, where's my next question? Oops, that's not the right page. So then it brought me to Peak. It brought me to Touching Spirit Bear. It also brought me to The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. Did you read that book?
I did. I like that book.
Isn't it great? It's wonderful. We love it. Because even though it's a story about war, obviously, the Vietnam War. If you don't know, there's a lot of reflection on memories and the traumas and storytellings and the emotional weights we carry. And Finn obviously has a lot because he's trying to undo the trauma that his dad experienced and then passed on to him, right? So O'Brien's characters carry physical items like the dog tags and the letters, and there's pictures along with just their tactical gear and mosquito bites. I would have died just getting off the helicopter. Like, it's too freaking hot and humid. I can't. I'm done. But they also carry like grief and responsibility and fear. So I don't know how to phrase this. Both books explore like grief, right? And how grief manifests.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't like your face right now. In our bodies and in our brains. And I know you haven't read The Trouble with Heroes, but how do you think storytelling through some of these things helps us carry these burdens?
I mean, you listen to Terry Pratchett's writings about storytelling. Our whole being is made up of stories. Our whole perception of everything is stories. So it's what gets us to process reality, because otherwise we have no way of expressing the intangibles. I can, like this microphone sitting right in front of me, I could describe it to you because I can see it, I can feel it, I guess I could smell the plastic and all that stuff. And, but what I am feeling as I am describing this thing, there's really no way to show that except through story.
Or those little pictures in your brain that I don't have.
Yes, you do have that condition.
And then
close your eyes and picture a fire hydrant.
I can't.
What do you see?
Oh my gosh. Maybe you should do a call-in show one time and you do these random things like that. All right, we'll live stream it. Everyone close your eyes and think of a fire hydrant. What do you see? Anyway, so with all of these stories have a weight to them. How do we know? And this is one of the things that Tim O'Brien's characters wrestle with throughout the book and throughout his book, and Finn sort of carries and wrestles with as well. But when is it time to put that weight down, to put that story aside?
I guess the answer to that is never. I mean, you just add to the story, or because I guess depending on where you end a story, it becomes a epic or a tragedy. a comedy or a tragedy. It all depends where you end it. So, if you're struggling through something, it's not so much putting that weight down because, it's always going to be there, but finding ways to work through it. So kind of, I guess, going off the hero thing, how does, say,
Heracles.
How does Heracles deal with the trials he has to do? Because, he's dealing with the weight of him having gone psycho and killed his own family. And now he's tasked with these 12 missions. I guess he has to go do these impossible missions. And, while he's dealing with this grief because the gods were angry with him and everyone was out to get him.
To be fair, people did help him. And was it the apple? He was a total dick to her.
Well, that's just Greek storytelling. Right? Everyone was a dick to everyone. But yeah, he did get help. So didn't Finn have some help between the dog or
not the same? She was kicked out of the garden.
But
anyway.
what I'm saying is it depends. If you ended the stories of Hercules.
Why is this so hard? Hercules. He's not Roman. He's Greek. It's Heracles. Oh my God. Uncultured swine.
Anyways, if you ended the story right after he killed his wife and kid, you have a pretty terrible, sad story, but you continue it on and he triumphs through these things, becomes the hero that we all know him today, even though we also know he was a dick. And
not in the Disney version. In the Disney version, he's just a goober.
In the Disney version, he's a Mary Sue.
Top, a star is born. Anyway, I'm so excited for that movie to come out. I hope they don't ruin it.
They will.
Stop. Stop. No. And then, so I have not read this book.
There's a book you haven't read?
Yes, I refuse. Smart people read it for me. As what is it? The Ologies podcast, I believe, that I listen to. Her quote is, "Ask smart people dumb questions." So there I am. I'm gonna be like, smart people can read smart books, and I will just be like, "Oh, look at you! Aren't you adorable?" So you have finished the Brothers Karat, God bless you, whatever it is.
And you call me uncultured.
It's Russian. Can you say the guy's last name?
Karamazov.
Who wrote it?
Dostoevsky.
There we go. So it's about brothers.
It is.
And I did a quick Sparks notes. I'm so glad that thing is still around. Thing with it. So one of them responds, there's a tragedy that happens, and one of them responds not with revenge, but with like empathy. Does this ring a bell?
Very vaguely.
Very vaguely. You're like, empathy. What is that?
Do you want me to go give a quick synopsis? I did just write a review on this book. So.
Oh, is it on Medium?
Yeah, it is on Medium and Substack and Goodreads.
Okay, cool deal. Yeah, go look at that, people, in your spare time. So just looking through the Spark Notes of it, it reminded me of Finn, because Finn makes this horrible decision and knocks
Quick question:
over.
Why were you looking at it in Spark Notes? Because I read it and you're like, I wonder what Joe's reading, because I've heard bad things.
Well, I was like, how can I connect this to Joe? So I'm not sitting here with dead air for 20 minutes. Because you were like, I need an episode. Flappy Bird, Flappy Bird, Flappy Bird. I need an episode, Flappy Bird. I was like, oh, I'll help you out. Okay, maybe Flappy Bird, Flappy Bird, Flappy Bird. Which is where our children get it from, not from me. Anywho, so this character reacts with empathy. And Finn sort of does that as well. So he knows he makes the mistake. And while he hates hiking in the beginning, he does understand why the woman's daughter makes him do these things. And there's a caveat that I'll give you at the end. Spoiler! There's big spoilers coming. It's sort of a soft heroism that actually sort of brings in Heracles and Odysseus and Perseus. Is it all the yesses? As Phil would say in Hercules Disney version. Why is it that we don't celebrate these soft acts of heroism? Why is it always, the person who kills his family? Why is it always the guy who had 10 years to get home, but spent 7 of them on an island? Why is it always the guy who he's told, don't turn around? This is Morpheus. Orpheus, sorry. And what does he do? He turns around.
He was excited. Can you blame a guy?
But why is it that we celebrate these
We're not
people?
I guess Orpheus there. We're not celebrating him so much as that's a tale of warning saying, don't count your ducks before they hatch. And bringing it back to Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah. You can't even say it. You can't say it.
Karamazov.
God bless you.
That is, I don't know what you were reading on Spark Notes, but I guess that is not what, there's really not a lot of ties to this, where the three brothers, you have the oldest brother that's accused of murdering his father. You have the middle brother who is accusing his older brother of murdering his father and being cynical about the whole thing. And then you have the youngest brother who is basically a saint that says, yeah, it's possible, but I talked to my brother and I believe him. He did not kill our father. And he's celebrated because he sees the best in everybody. He is, out of all the whole family is looked down upon as wealthy scumbags, but the youngest brother, who's trained to become a monk someday and looks for the best in everybody. Everybody adores him. Even the cynical brother, who's like, I hate everybody and everything, says, I love you, brother. Because you, and the older brother, who says, I am a horrible human being. I whore and I kill and I abuse people for no reason. But when I'm around you, instead of feeling less than, you make me feel equal to your greatness.
So maybe it ties more in with how people viewed Finn's dad. How people view people like Finn's dad.
Except that the youngest brother was a saint instead of, that there was no bad bone in him. I mean, he was naive and, was easily led astray, but he didn't drink, he didn't whore. When people did horrible things, he was horrified by them, but then he would forgive immediately. So he was the hero that, say, Finn's dad was called. He was the kind of a Jesus figure of just perfection.
Was he brown-skinned and Middle Eastern? Sorry, wrong topic. Anyway, but what I mean is that so we put people like Finn's dad on a pedestal, and we think that they are perfect because they show their strength and their resilience and their stamina, but we don't praise the people who like John Green when he was going through his stuff and he's going on his mental health walks. Like, nobody is wearing a pin for people like that. We do not have parades necessarily for these quiet acts of heroism.
Well, no, I mean it's often invisible. We don't see what's going on in somebody's head. So, John Green is out there selling his books, doing his YouTube channel, helping children in Africa, and we celebrate him for the messages he puts out and his actions. Nobody knows that internally, and even though there's outward signs of it, but in his public persona, he's hiding it the best he can. So, we don't see that turmoil that's in his head.
Well, not necessarily the turmoil, just
but what I'm saying is that like we don't see that turmoil, so therefore we don't see the acts of greatness to hide and push that down and be positive and to heal himself, the long road to healing himself, until he started talking about it. And then once he started talking about it, he's a hero for talking about it, not for so much for the actions to have started getting better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but just the acts of every day.
But
like, why?
Again, that acts of every day are common. You're gonna have, if every day mom was lifting a car off a kid, it would eventually just be like, okay, yeah, that's just common.
Well, obviously, it would be common because those little kids, man, they get into so many scrapes. I don't know. Maybe it's also because I have a chip on my shoulder about how we respect and give praise to people who outwardly show their strength. Like, you know how I feel about the NFL and what they're paid and whatnot. He's had to sit through many a diatribe where, like, whereas our researchers at our universities and labs are making way less than that. And really, they're the heroes. Like,
our teachers are making way less than
fuck
you're
yes.
the heroes.
Fuck yes. Like, the people who created the COVID vaccine are goddamn heroes. I don't care what Donald Trump and his MAGA and Maha people say.
Yeah, we weren't going to rant on this one because that's why we can't post the other one.
I'm not ranting. I'm just saying, because it does tie in.
You're winding up.
I'm gonna slug you with a home run because it does play into the book. His dad.
There's
Step
no-
it.
there's no home runs in football.
They listen to me, not to you. Go away. Anyway, it ties into the book.
Home runs or football?
Donald Trump being a dick. That's what. Anyway, I'm going to go to Alligator Alcatraz, and it's not going to go well because it's also hot and humid in Florida. Anyway, so Finn's story resonated in a couple different ways. Obviously, we lived through 9/11. Like, we're going to be older at some point, and we're going to be like, back in my day.
We don't already do that?
No, I generally don't talk to the students about 9/11. I honestly don't, because they have no concept, and there is actually just so much controversy and misinformation that it's really hard to talk to them about it, because it's not just a day. It's then the 20 years we spent in Afghanistan and Iran. Or Iraq. And
Iran's the next one. We're about to get involved.
Iran's the one that's right now. So it's really hard. So if they ask a question, yes, I will say things. Like, do you remember? I'm like, yeah, I do. But it's a very weird, I don't know. It's a very weird day. Plus, it's also right at the beginning of the school year, just as you're starting to make connections and you're going to start talking about something sad and morbid. And while I love morbid stuff, generally not how I bring my flock in. I appreciated the look of grief in this book because Finn talks about his dad, and there's parts of my dad's past that I didn't experience but my half sisters did. So I think it would be very interesting for them to read this book and maybe make connections. I don't know. But small rituals were helpful, like right after and leading up to. So Finn is doing these hikes, and he's baking, and he's trying to figure out what really happened to his dad. Like, did his dad have stuff in his system? And he finds out. I'm not going to spoil that. But then everyone who sort of helped him on the way is connected to his dad. So the woman whose gravestone he knocked over, her daughter is the one who set him on this mission. That woman is the same woman in the picture with his dad from 9/11. So his dad saved her, right? Then the coach coached his dad and him. And I forget how Cow Nanny and Nerd Nanny are related to his dad. But like, there's this whole thing. And so Finn is finally able to sort of create a full picture of his dad and not just the PTSD that he saw from his dad. So, a question: what rituals or routines do you think would be helpful when coping with loss, such as baking or hiking?
Well, you're probably going to be the one that's going to be able to better answer that.
I know, that's why I asked you.
Because you did lose your father, and I haven't really lost my parents yet.
But you've lost people. Don't even. You've lost people.
This is where my psycho comes out, though.
You heard it on here, y'all. He's admitted it. So what was something you did after your papa died? Because that was one that probably affected you the most.
Not much. I mean, we didn't see him all that often. I mean, we saw him, a handful of times a year, and I was, 11 or 12 maybe when it happened, maybe even younger. So I didn't have that connection. It wasn't like when my Nana died, but who we saw at least weekly, if not more than that. But even with my grandmother, it was, I don't know, it didn't. I was sad. I grieved, but I didn't really have rituals, or I didn't really do anything. I just kind of.
I got one.
Oh yeah.
I got one.
that I did?
Maybe. Psychoanalyze here. It's a really big part of your life now for 9 months out of the year. 8, maybe 7.
We're not having any more children, so it's not
Oh
that.
my God. Oh my God. Ew. Ew. No. Ugh.
That will probably get deleted. Don't worry. Maybe not.
Leave my sound effects. Ew. Yuck.
Are you talking about skiing and hunting?
Yeah. Aren't those sort of ritualistic? Because if like Papa hadn't been into skiing as he was, he probably wouldn't have been on ski patrol. And then your dad probably would not have been as interested in ski patrol as he is. Therefore, you would not be as interested. Like, I don't know if you would be the person you are without this ritual, without this cult of skiing and ski patrol. And you can trace it to Papa, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but I wouldn't say it's really a ritual. It's just more of it was how it was brought up, where this is an option. If you want to spend time with your dad, if you want to see your Papa, it was always, when we were growing up, it was after we skied.
But isn't that kind of what a ritual is? It's an option.
Yeah, but
in a way.
Again, it's I guess I don't look at it as a ritual. It's not I'm skiing every time I'm out there skiing. I'm thinking some mantra or this is for you, Papa, or whatever. It's more of this is who I am.
But in the beginning, that mantra might have been, after I ski, I get to see Papa.
But that would have been before he died, and it was more of we get to watch cartoons. You see it cable.
Of course, the truth comes out. It's really not about Papa. It was about the TV. But
hey, when you grew up without cable and you discovered Cartoon Networks.
Oh man, can't imagine. But that was still a ritual of sorts, and it set you on this path that you are now trying to continue.
Sure. If you're gonna analyze it as that, we can go with that.
Didn't I say psychoanalyze? Didn't I? I don't know. I think it's kind of maybe ritual is not the right word, but
tradition.
Yeah. Plus, Ski Patrol is a cult. I swear to God.
And I am their leader.
Only in his dreams. Again, if he comes at you with a robe and a staff, don't listen to him. He's not a druid.
Might be a Jedi though.
Yeah, okay. On the dark side. But things like that, I think, do help us in a way.
Okay.
It's a cute book. Don't look at me like that.
I'm not saying it wasn't a cute book.
You're looking at me like I'm weirder than usual. Mom, he's looking at me. Sorry, that's something we hear. Mom, she's touching me. Mom. So let's see. What else do I got? Oops. Wrong piece of paper. He said I could make paper sounds, so I...
Are we wrapping up here soon? We're getting kind of late.
Wow.
Well, I see you have a stack, and maybe this needs...
Wow. Shush. So I did go and look for books that were similar to this book, The Trouble with Heroes. Oh, caveat. The Trouble with Heroes, there is another book with the exact same title, but it's about World War II. It's not the same. Don't get confused. But Hatchet was listed as a similar book. And then three books I haven't heard of. The Honest Truth by Dan Gaimanhart. I'm so sorry if I butcher that. It's about a boy climbing a mountain while battling illness. Wild Bird by Wendelin Van Dranen. A troubled teen finds transformation in the Utah desert. And then two books that I have heard. Every Shiny Thing by Lori Morrison and Cordelia Jensen. It's a dual POV verse novel about grief, privilege, and justice. And then The Canyon's Edge by Dusty Bowling. Oh my gosh, I love those books. Which is a survival story in verse about trauma and strength. So, there you go. Taking too long, my goodness. Try to do someone a favor.
I gotta edit this in record time here, so...
Sounds like a skill issue. Do you have questions for me?
I do not. You seem to have covered this quite well.
And you were worried, Flappy Bird.
Okay. Do you have any last comments?
Again, if he comes at you in a robe with a staff, don't trust him.
So if you've enjoyed this podcast, let us know. We have an email, kindlebookworms@gmail.com. We also read all your comments on Spotify. If you leave a comment there, rate us on Spotify and Apple to help get us our names out there. As Becky mentioned, I do have a Medium, Substack, and Goodreads. We have a link tree and most of the stuff. Instagram @Kindle Bookworms is where you can find that and find us. Make sure you subscribe to whatever podcatcher you listen to so that you don't miss an episode. We post episodes on the 5th and 20th of every month. And if you want another book on grief, a little spoiler alert, in a couple of months, Alex has a real good one that we're going to force Becky to read.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I have ideas.
Okay, well, we'll go over this after the show is over so that we don't spoil it.
Spoiler alert. We like them.
But yeah.
I could totally be Delirium on the Sandman. That would actually fit, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. It would. And let's see, we're hosted by Podbean. Alex has some books for sale. You can find them on Amazon. We'll have the link in the description. His books are The Destroyer and Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok. And he'll hopefully have more later. Also, Alex is threatening to start his own medium. We will get more to that when that is available.
I'm sorry. I can't wait. We're going to talk about it at my book club, I think. I'm just like, here's what we're doing, guys. No more reading. We're just going to listen to this guy.
So, yeah, that's all I got, I think. Becky?
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for listening. This has been Bookworms.
Bye, worms.